everybody, and welcome to this new talk in Naturally talk that we've got today. I'm Sammy Masons. I'm one of the NHSN trustees, and I'm delighted to be joined by Ian Bond today. We're going to have a chat with. So, Ian, do you want to just introduce who you are and what you do?
Yeah, hi. Yeah, I usually describe myself as a mammal enthusiast, and I probably broaden that into a wildlife enthusiast. So, I guess if you're going to sum me up, I would say that's probably what I am. That said, I've been fortunate enough to kind of work in a wildlife-related job for something like the last 25 years. Uh, Mostly sort of desk study, but even so, it's yeah, I'm still writing and reading about wildlife, so it's still very interesting and still quite a privilege to be doing that.
Amazing, living and breathing wildlife in all areas. That's great.
They're nice to get paid for it as well, yeah.
Yeah, there's always a lot more desk work involved in kind of working in
Yeah,
wildlife.
absolutely.
I think people realise to
You
start with.
tell people what you do, and they think you're just wandering around with binoculars all day, but no, you do that maybe 10% of
Yeah,
yeah.
still a lot of computers involved, as there is with everything. So great. So how did you then first kind of get into natural history? You said that you've been working in this area for a little bit, but where did you kind of start off?
I don't really know because I can never remember a time when I wasn't mad about wildlife. So even my earliest memories involved wildlife. So I do sometimes think, why is it I like animals? But I don't have any pre-liking animals experience to sort of judge why that is. But anyway, I do. But I guess I didn't really get into what you might call natural history until probably in my 20s. So as a kid, I was mad about wildlife. I'd read everything I could about, go down to the library and get all the books I could. But that was kind of it. So, like in my teens, I could have probably named all the cat species in the world, but I wouldn't be able to identify the birds down on the local coast, for example. So it was kind of what I call like a BBC wildlife kind of naturalist, if you like. So yeah, that really didn't start until my 20s, and I think what triggered it, I decided to keep a nature notebook. Excuse me. And what I can distinctly remember is I didn't know what time the leaves came out on the trees. This is a bit embarrassing saying that, but I thought, well, yeah, they come out in spring, so yeah, late March. That's when the leaves will be on the trees. So I decided to sort of, well, I'm going to keep a record and see when they do. And obviously, they don't come out in late March, apart from maybe the odd hawthorn bush. They come out late April, May. So that was quite a surprise, and so that was probably 1984, and I've started just keeping a nature notebook ever since then. Just one or two lines, just things I've spotted. And yeah, it's interesting to look back now, sort of what's that 40 years on? Yes, 40 years on. It's some of the early entries and some of the things I didn't know or thought was very significant at the time.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. Yeah, I hear so many people keeping like nature notebooks and just like an amazing way to kind of, I guess, keep all of those thoughts and things in one place and then look back over time at kind of, yeah, different places that you've been, wildlife that you've seen, and the changes to it, I guess, as well over that time period.
Yeah, you do, and it doesn't have to be much. I say most of my entries are 2 or 3 sentences. Like just yesterday, the sun thrush in the garden. Now, I'm not sure if that is the first. We've been in this house just over 20 years, and there was one within the first week when we arrived. And I'm not sure if this is the second one in our garden. There might have been another one in between, but you know what I mean? Something like that is hugely significant. So it goes in the diary.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess it just kind of gives an importance to those kind of nature moments. You kind of remember them more, don't you?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
As you go along. Great. So you're based in the Northeast as well, are you?
That's right. I mean, I kind of based in the Tees Valley, really. I never tend to venture much further north than Newton Aycliffe, and not even the Newton Aycliffe if I can help it. So I kind of all my work has been in like the Cleveland area, and I live in Darlington. So pretty much all my natural history is in that area, really. So I get a little bit lost if I go too far beyond that.
Yeah.
But it does have the advantage that you know your own area really well because
Yeah, definitely.
I've been doing it for a long time. So yeah,
Yeah,
which I quite like.
yeah. Are there any kind of specific spots near you that you kind of particularly enjoy going to watch wildlife or anything?
I mean, our favourite, my wife and I would do what we call our wildflower walk every spring. So May up at from like Low Force and walk up to High Force.
Yeah.
And you don't not getting these sort of Arctic alpine specialities there, but you're getting lots of good stuff that you don't get anywhere else, like Globeflower and Mountain Everlasting and things like that. So it's just a lovely little walk, you know.
Yeah. Oh, amazing. No, lovely. Coming up to that time of year as well, hopefully.
Absolutely, yeah. We need to start getting out, yeah.
Yeah, it's finally starting to feel a bit more spring-like out there. So you said earlier that you would probably describe yourself as kind of a mammal naturalist and a mammal expert and enthusiast, I guess. So tell me a little bit more about that. What's kind of the different things that you've been doing with mammals over your career course?
Well, I think everybody kind of gravitates to mammals ultimately, even if you're into plants or birds or whatever. If you go out and you see a mammal, that'll be the highlight of your day. So I guess that's probably why. Um, I mean, I was secretary of Northumbria Mammal Group for quite a few years, and we worked quite closely with the Natural History Society. And the Natural Society, in fact, published our book on mammals of the Northeast. That was a really good project because it was the first one for the first time that had been done for about 150 years. So things had changed a little bit since Mennel and Perkins' time. So that was really good to get a variety of experts together and each do their own sort of specific contribution towards that.
Yeah, brilliant. How long ago was that published?
That was 2012. So one or two things have changed quite dramatically. So yes, we probably could do with a bit of an update.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, as a mammal enthusiast myself, I'd be all in favour for that.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's things like mammal web and that will greatly increase what we know. It's because there's a lot of gaps on the map. I mean, it wasn't primarily an atlas. It was more a description of what we know. But things like what mammal webs, they put a lot more dots on the map, so we know a lot more now.
Yeah, definitely. Because I think sometimes people don't realize, because like you said, like with mammals, everybody gets quite excited when you see them, and common mammals, especially like rabbits and things, you do see them quite often. So I think people quite often think that we have these really incredible databases and we know exactly how many there are and where they are.
Yeah.
Actually, if you look at data for mammals, it's actually quite under-recorded, even compared to like birds and things, because well, a lot of mammals are quite shy, a lot of them are nocturnal. So actually, we don't have that great data for mammals in comparison to other things. It is getting better with kind of camera traps and other survey methods that are coming out. But yeah, I think sometimes people don't realize actually that the more data that we can have on these species, the better.
Yeah, well, it's like rabbits. You wouldn't necessarily think to send in data on rabbits, but I mean, rabbit populations are changing quite dramatically, and that can have a knock-on effect. So we need to know where they were and where they aren't anymore.
Yeah, absolutely.
It all counts.
Yeah, definitely. So on that point then, kind of in your lifetime, have you seen kind of changes in biodiversity, like either increasing or decreasing? What's kind of been the most, I guess, profound increases or decreases that you've seen during your lifetime?
I mean, in terms of decreases, the obvious one for me would be water vole. I mean, even as late as the late 1990s, by which time it was already recognised that the water vole is our fastest declining mammal. There was already great concern about it then, but they were still very widespread down here. I would see them pretty much every watercourse, and now they're not in any. There's one or two places like Harrispeak Saltholm, maybe one or two others, and that's about it. They've gone from dozens of locations, even since the last 20 years. But like in terms of increases, the thing that I see a lot more of is raptors. I mean, I'm going back to kind of the late 60s, I guess, but I remember one time we were playing football in the field, group of us, and a sparrowhawk flew over. We all just stood still. All of us just stopped kicking the ball and just stood there because we'd never seen one.
Yeah.
This is were the times when raptors were suffering from egg thinning and there were great declines. None of us had ever seen a sparrowhawk, and we were kind of aged between about 10 and 14, I guess. So whereas you see them all the time now.
Yeah.
Likewise, buzzards. 20 years ago, if I saw a buzzard anywhere around Cleveland at all, it went in my nature notebook. 10 years ago, if I saw one on the outside of Darlington, went on my nature book. Now, I mean, I've just seen one today. You see them really quite regularly, and they're such wonderful things with the big wings and that mewing call. They're just so iconic, and it's great that they are just a common bird, but they're a regular, they're a feature now, a regular feature.
Yeah.
And bats as well. Bats are creeping back up again, very, very gradually, which in their case is due, I'm sure, to the protection that they're receiving. That I'm sure that's helped an awful lot. And they obviously they only reproduce very slowly, so it's going to be a gradual increase.
Yeah.
But numbers are coming up, and that's good to see.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, it's definitely good to kind of remember about the success stories of species increasing.
Yeah, that's right. Some things are getting better.
Yeah, definitely. Amazing. So you said earlier about kind of the Northeast Mammal Atlas as kind of one thing that you've produced. Have you kind of authored any other books or been involved in any other big projects?
Well, the only book I suppose I could say I've authored is The Path of the Panther, which was basically a compilation of columns that I wrote for the Northumbria Mammal Group's newsletter. So I had a column called the Big Cat Diaries, where I'd write up alleged big cat sightings in the Northeast. And so anyway, I was asked to compile them into a book, which I did. It's probably the least read book in the world, because there was only a print run of about 50, and I've got 5 of them. But I have had a lot of people ask me subsequently, "Oh, can I get a copy of it?" So what I did, I got my son to put me up a website, and it's free to download on there, as is the Northeast Mammals Atlas, actually. So if you just go on there, you can just click on them and download them if you want to know where the big cat sightings were back in 2010.
Gosh, so were there many big cat sightings? I guess enough to.
Well, there's a lot of alleged ones. I don't really think there was ever more than 1 or 2 cats on the loose, but I did encounter one myself on one occasion. So that was probably my most memorable ever wildlife encounter.
Wow.
But I only heard it. I didn't see it, but that was enough, to be fair.
Do want to see it. Oh, amazing. So have you done any work with that since 2010?
No, I kind of the sightings kind of seem to dry up, which is probably what you'd expect. If there was genuinely 1 or 2 cats out there, then they died off. You'd never expect that. So no, it's not something I've pursued for any further. I don't think we have a viable population of big cats living in this country, unless somebody's been surreptitiously introducing lynx into Scotland, which, given what happened with beavers, it's not impossible. But I think that's the only likelihood.
Yeah. No,
but you never know. That's the beauty about it. You just never know. I mean, found a new shrew, the Sunderland shrew, new shrew for Britain. Just last year. So who knows what's out there.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I know with my work with Mammal Web, so we got a raccoon on a camera once, and we've had a couple of coatis on the cameras, just like in the woods. So
it's amazing, isn't it? Yeah, what people have got and nobody knows about.
Yeah. I think there was a study recently about like the number of wallabies as well that are kind of escaped wallabies that are in the wild. So yeah, there is like exotic species, I guess, out there. But yeah. Cool. Do you have kind of any other pursuits then? Either kind of natural history related or not related?
I've tried to do a little bit of writing. So I've done. I mostly kind of write for non-naturalists, really. So I just kind of mix up a few facts and a bit of humour and mash it all up together and so forth. So I've done a few articles, say, for like the Northern Echo Living magazine.
Wow, cool.
So I quite enjoy doing that sort of thing. So I'd like to do a little bit more of that. When I get a chance.
Yeah. Oh, amazing. Cool. Well, we're almost running out of time, but yeah, it's been great chatting to you. But I'm gonna leave you with one last question, which is, given all that you've learnt, what tips would you pass on to someone just starting out in natural history?
I would say to latch onto somebody, either the person or an organisation. That is just the best way to learn, is to pick somebody else's brains. Probably if I've got a regret, it's that I didn't really do that enough. And while there's one or two people who did really help me a lot, and I learned a lot from, probably, if I'd worked in an organisation where there'd been a lot of naturalists or ecologists, and it would have been good to kind of learn from them. So I think that is the best way to learn. So yeah, join a group or find somebody else who's going out and learn from them.
Yeah, definitely. Really good advice. Great. Well, on that note, we will leave it there. But thank you very much, Ian. It's been really wonderful chatting to you. And I hope everybody listening enjoyed our conversation. So yeah, thank you on behalf of NHSN, and I hope to speak to you again soon.
Right. Thanks, Sammy. Cheers.
Thank you.